welcome to yet another episode of the Iraq Football Podcast, ladies and gents. I'm your host Hassan Bilal, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host Hassan Osama.
Yeah, great to be here. It feels like I'm repeating myself every single time that it's tough circumstances for Iraqi football, but every episode feels the same nowadays. But let's get into it.
I'm waiting for the day where I could come on and actually have something positive to say, but that's not the nature of Iraqi football. It seems to be getting worse and worse. We're here obviously today to cover the Asian Cup and all the action that's unfolded over the last couple of weeks. 2 weeks is a long time in football. It's even a longer time when it comes to Iraqi football. Hassan, we were shocked when we first heard the news that Dick Advocate has resigned from his position, and in comes Rahim Hamid and Petrovic to lead the national team. Now, before I ask you on your opinion on this and your feelings and your response and reaction when this first happened, I was speaking to somebody close to Iraqi football today, not a player, but somebody that has a lot of inside information. And just more of the same information was coming to me that these guys were the ones actually making the decisions. Advocate had no clue what was happening. He was just there for the money, according to this individual, and the main decisions were coming from Petrovic and Rahim Hamid. So it was no real shock to see them taking over the job. What were your thoughts when you saw their names as the new replacements as managers?
Yeah, I mean, Advocate leaving his position, I think that shocked everybody. In that, there's so little time between the decision that he made and the timing of the start of the Arab Cup. So he left kind of the Iraqi football basically flat-footed. You don't know, what do you do? Do you keep the assistants? Do you find a new coach at the last second? And they decided to keep, the assistants who were there. Basically, from what you're saying, that Petrovic and Rahim Hamid were doing most of the work. I totally can see that. As an outsider looking in, it's totally it's not a surprise if that's the case. Given that they were the ones who were going to Iraq, they were the ones who were making the list of players to recommend to him. They were the ones who were, doing everything, and he would fly in to Doha.
Dare I say as well, Hassan, they might have been, for legal reasons I say might have been. I have it on good sources that they also were involved in bribery, players paying for their position to be in the national team. And whether you want to believe this or not, I'll leave that for you. I have it from good sources that this was the case. So again, further kind of information regarding just how influential these two individuals are in the world of Iraqi football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and of course, Rahim Hamid has been with the national team since 2004 now, so he's heavily entrenched in the situation of the national team within the setup. And so there have always been reports of bribery, players paying for their spot, players having a guaranteed position in the national team. And then if these reports, and they've been numerous throughout the years, if they're true, he's
there's
definitely
no fire without smoke. There's no fire without smoke.
Yeah, exactly. So, them taking over for Advocate, it really didn't change anything on the pitch and in terms of preparation, given that Advocate was only flying in once in a while whenever we have a game to stare at the players cluelessly during the game and then fly back to Amsterdam. So really, he left. And it really didn't change anything at all. The results were the same, as we will get into about the Arab Cup, and everything was the same. So, from my personal perspective, seeing them take over for him, and when he decided to leave, I didn't feel it's not going to be an upgrade, it's not going to be a downgrade. It's all the same because it's clearly they were doing all the work anyways. So, yeah.
Right, so let's jump straight into things. The squad came out. I think we were the last country in the whole Arab Cup to reveal our squad, and for good reason, because it was not as strong as we would have hoped. Let's put it that way. No Mohamed Jiaz, no Amir Al Amari, no Jilwan. I don't really want to talk about Jilwan because Rahim Hamid went on national TV talking to that Dawood chap, I forgot his first name, saying that, we invited Jilwan, but his club turned our approach down. If you believe that, fine, but you're an idiot if you do, because it's simply not true. I know that for a fact. But anyway, Jaz was not cleared of his injury just yet. I can understand. Amir Al Amari had big games coming up, but he would have joined if the game had been played, and he could have joined for the second game. Iraqi Federation didn't want to wait. France Rabin were there. Ali Al Hamadi, there was no way he was going to be released by his club. So yeah, a few expats missing. What did you make of the inclusion of Yasser Qasim?
Yeah, it's something that people have been calling for a long time. I wanted to, to really see how well he could reach that same level that he was back in 2015. That kind of if Yasser Qasim is at that level, 2015, our midfield is completely changed, and it proved over the course of the games. Even not at that level, not quite at that level, he's still a good player for us. There's definitely it's hard to judge individual players. That's the thing with this national team, because it's so disjointed in terms of the players, in terms of cohesion and everything. So a player, you could put Messi into this team and he's not going to perform at 100% anyways. So it's not so if I point at Yasser Qasim, sure, he got a red card in that first game, but he was doing everything else well, but he was still in a kind of impossible position since you were playing so far back, so deep defensively in the second half against Oman. So and we were inviting so much pressure. So of course,
before we start to analyze the games, Hassoun.
Yeah.
Before we start, let's break down the squad selection first, because I think it's an important note. Because Yasser Qasim wasn't the only change. We saw 3 notable absences: no Ala Abdulzara, no Ahmed Ibrahim, no Ali Adnan. What were your thoughts on this?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it was positive to have them out.
All 3 of them?
Arab Cup itself, I don't think it as a tournament, it's not something that's so significant. And so I think it's good to be looking for different solutions. Now we could talk about who came in to replace them. And, the rest of the squad selection, which I'm not, that confident about, that I wasn't so happy about.
Okay, so let's do that. In comes the likes of Muntadhar, Hassan Ra'id, Ahmed Farhan, Ali Youssef. Who else did we have? Hassan Abdul Karim, if I mentioned them already. You had a few young players from the Olympics team coming in. How did you feel about this?
Yeah. So we go player by player. Hassan Abdul Karim, I'd like to highlight. I thought he was, his inclusion very fully deserved, and he showed good things during the tournament. I wanted to see more of players like him, especially from the U23 team, which we saw that performed they played well at the last the West Asian games. So more players of that category, actual young players, not somebody who's 26, 27, 28, because we need a refresh of the national team completely. And I understand we don't have a lot of the the expats from Europe, all of them available. A lot of them have club commitments, especially the ones in Norwegian leagues and Scandinavian leagues with their leagues finishing up. So I wanted to see more of those, the very young players, guys like Hassan Abdul Karim, somebody who's like I'm not sure, I don't even remember their names, but you know, like the typical Iraqi league player who's like, you know, who's always been there his whole career, and you know, he's kind of like
The
well
likes of
into his
Oman,
career.
Barak,
Those,
and
yeah, that
I'm
category,
happy
that
you've
kind of
forgotten their
player.
names, man. They still live rent free in my head, unfortunately.
Yeah, that category of player, like I don't like. We're not going to get anything from them. Like you can swap them out from one. Like there's a million of them in the Iraqi league, and you can keep swapping them out. Sorry, keep swapping them out, and you know there is the level's the same. So we need like these fresh young players who have the hunger, who have like kind of. You know, we have like a pretty decent U23 team right now. They have a little bit of cohesion. Let's bring them up kind of together, build that up a little bit. That's more what I want to do. What I want to see from for our national team, like in these types of tournaments, World Cup qualifiers. Like you know, when it's key games, then sure, bring in, you know, the best that you've got. But this kind of tournament, like, and that's what a lot of the other Arab national team did. They brought in like, you know, B teams, younger squads. So, you know, following that kind of go in that direction, I think suits us better.
Yes and no. For sure, it was good to see some new faces come in. It was good to see a new generation and their foundations being built, because I'm sick and tired of seeing the Hakim Shakir generation, as I like to call them, the 2013 age fraud generation that somehow managed to convince Iraqi football that it was worthwhile and it was worth its substance, when in fact it was all based on nonsense. Tazweer, all these players right now in their late 30s, all finished as footballers, the likes of Humam Tariq and Ali Adnan and so and so. But there was still some major imbalances in the squad, let's say. We'll start to analyze the games in a second. I was very happy to see Asaf Qasim being included. I know him personally. I know how hard he's working to try to reignite his career, let's say. And I think even if he's not as good as he was in 2015 when he was younger and playing at a much higher level, he's still like levels above any of the midfielders in the Iraqi league. Easily. And I don't know how anyone watched those games can argue otherwise, but we'll come to those games in a second. You mentioned some other countries bringing in younger players to kind of give experience and whatnot. Yeah, I also understand that. I understand that the reason why we bring in the likes of Qawqiyya and the others, Muntazar and whatnot. But I think the absence of advocate right before the tournament would have told me this is a good time to bring in a new manager and use these kind of essentially friendly games to bring in a new manager and let them use this as a trial run leading up to our next game, which is going to be against Iran. And that's going to be huge, man. Like, that's going to be a huge game for our new manager to play right off the cuff. And whoever that manager happens to be, there's talk that Petrovic is out, talk of him staying, talk of Amin Philip, a few other names being touted. This should have been a time where we actually try and find a new system, find something different, see what works. But as ever with Iraqi football, logic doesn't really prevail. So let's jump straight into things. The first game, Iraq Oman, wasn't short on drama. Let's say, what were you thinking during this match?
Yeah, I mean, a tale of two halves for us for Iraq. I think for that game, the first half.
That's going to be the theme across all three games, by the way.
Exactly. Like the first half, we did pretty well. Like, we didn't create too much. Like we had chances, like, you know, hitting the post. I think in that game,
I think we hit the
post.
There are chances 3 times, didn't we?
Yeah, Mohamed Qasim and I don't remember who else.
Farhan as well.
Yeah, And, you know, these are kind of like, you know, they're chances to score, but, you know, it's not an organically created chance. Like, but
Yeah,
that's,
it's
you
a
know, something
chance that comes
we
from
talked
individual
about a million
brilliance
times.
or a bit of luck,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, a typical kind of chance that the national team would create. But so, you know, the first half ended, looked pretty good. So you're expecting them to kind of follow that up and, you know, kill the game in the second half, hopefully. Complete opposite happened. And I think this is like something that goes back to, you know, the tactical ability of the coach, because in the second half, that's when you can make changes, you can adjust, reassess the game, and make the necessary changes. The Omani coach, right away, he made some changes, made some substitutions. The game completely turned. We're pinned in our own half. We can't even get into you know, the Omani half, and they were just hammering us for the entire game, chance after chance, and we were playing completely pressured. And that's why, you know, I don't blame, you know, Yasser Qasim getting the 2 yellows, or was it Ahmed Farhan? I don't remember who gave up the penalty. With someone.
No,
I don't remember.
It was
His name.
Hassan Raed.
Yeah, like I don't blame the players for these kinds of when you're playing completely under pressure and you can't even get the ball out of your own half. I think this is kind of like, you know, mistakes like that will happen. You know, you're going to play panicked, much more panic, short on time. You know, you're going to make, you know, more rash decisions, especially if you're defending. So I don't know. I think like with a better prepared coach, someone who actually has like, you know, a higher tactical understanding of the game, the ability to make the changes, and, you know, because, you know, the first half went well for you. You know, the other coach, he's going to do something to change things. So you can't just stay the same and hope the game continues like this and they're just going to roll over for you. So, you know, you need something.
This is not a bad Oman side, right? This is a very good team. This is a team that's holding its own in Group B in the World Cup qualifiers, that has the likes of Australia, Japan, Saudi, etc. They're no rollover team. I was surprised that we dominated so well in the first half. I say dominated again. It goes back to what you said. We didn't really create any chances. We didn't really come close to scoring. We had those shots from distance. There was that one cross that came over that Ala Abbas narrowly missed with a good half volley. But other than that, we didn't really create much. Second half, I think there were 2 problems there. Number one, yeah, tactically, we didn't change anything. Oman did, and Petrovic really showed his naivety and lack of tactical awareness and understanding by keeping the team and the shape the same. Where I disagree with you, a point you've made previously was regarding Advocate and his decision-making in terms of tactics. One thing I think Advocate did do well, and you might disagree with me, and others might disagree with me, but I think generally his substitutions were actually quite good. And he would try to make changes when necessary, even if it meant making a change early. And I think Advocate being there, I think for sure results would have been slightly better. At the very least, maybe a bit better, like not substantial, but better, if not even just a little bit better compared to Petrovic. But yeah, Oman come out second half completely dominating, completely in control, and we're pinned down. Now, the other factor is not just tactical naivety, but it's also what I mentioned in my interview recently with Gonzalo Rodriguez. If you haven't listened to that interview or haven't seen that interview or read it, go to www.iraqfootball.me or find us on social media. You can find the interview there. We talked about the lack of fitness in the Iraqi team, and this was evident across all 3 games. You had, for example, after 60 minutes, Manaf Yunus coming off with flipping cramp, which is unheard of after 60 minutes. Usually after 90 minutes, after the 3rd game in close succession, not the first match, and you're getting cramps. It's ridiculous. The other thing as well is overall, the whole team just looked tired and shot and unable to actually track back, and looked careless and sloppy with their passing after about 65, 70 minutes. So it's no wonder Yasser Qasim got sent off, because his legs looked tired as well. And that's inevitable. I was speaking to Justin. I was like, bro, did you see the game? He goes, yeah, I did. I was like, what do you think of the players getting tired so quickly? And he made an interesting remark. He goes, yeah, Hassan, of course they're going to get tired this quickly. When the whole game you're just chasing the Omani players. The second half, Iraq had zero possession. The whole second half, they're chasing the Omani players. So it's inevitable that they're going to get tired. It's inevitable that they're going to make mistakes and make careless tackles like Yasser did, like Hassan did, etc. Yeah, that was evident throughout the entire tournament, unfortunately, in terms of the players getting tired and costing us valuable points. Because I think out of all the groups, ours was the easiest in terms of us going through, for sure. Maybe the only one maybe would be Group B with Imarat, but it was disappointing. Even that, like, it was very close to losing, by the way. All those chances we had in the first half, it was VAR that saved us at the end. They put their penalty away, and to be fair, they looked like scoring again. Somehow we managed to get a penalty. Did you think it was a penalty, Hassan, be honest?
For ours, pretty soft. If
Iraq conceded that, I would be furious. The fact that we got it, alhamdulillah, obviously, but 9 times out of 10, that wouldn't be given. But with VAR, I guess these kind of things are much.
A bit of a theme in this competition with VAR saving us a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the first time. It happened against Imarat recently as well. So VAR has worked in our favor recently. How long our luck will continue with that, God knows. But we had that penalty. And Ayman Hussein coming on as a substitute to save the day. He picks up the ball and takes what's the word I'm looking for? Shite penalty, appalling penalty. And he misses. Keeper saves it, and he didn't just save it. He fully caught it. He didn't even just parry it away. He fully caught it, didn't he? It was a while back. I'm trying to remember, but I'm pretty sure he fully just picked it up to give an idea of how poor the penalty was. Again, VAR to the rescue. The penalty is retaken because the keeper was a little bit off his line, and alhamdulillah, the retaken penalty, I think it was Bouqia that steps up and takes it. Young player, first real game for the Iraq national team, and he surprisingly able to cope with the pressure, slots it away, and ends 1-1. So not the worst result considering who we were playing, especially considering what happened in the second half. But the highlight for that game for me was Petrovic running onto the pitch after Ayman Hassan misses the penalty and tries taking the retake. What did you make of that whole thing?
It was strange to say the least. But I mean, his later explanation was that he was trying to save Ayman Hassan from being harassed by the fans for missing a penalty again. So I mean, I understand what he's saying, because if he misses a penalty,
do you buy that? I don't buy that one bit.
I'm gonna take him out as a
no way. There's no way he cares about Ayman Hassan like that. I think he saw how shit the first penalty was, and he thought, no way this guy's taking it again.
That's true. I mean, I'm not generally a fan of having, if a player he misses a penalty, I wouldn't want him to step up and take it again. Typically just change him. Even if he scores a penalty, he has another penalty again, change the player. So I mean, from that perspective already, I wouldn't want Ayman Hassan taking it again. And even if it's not genuine, if Ayman Hassan misses a penalty again, I think he's done for a little while with the national team, even though he should be done with the national team already. But I think he's been done for a while.
He's always been done, to be fair. I think it's amazing he's still in the team, you know. I mean, Katanich, I really fault Katanich for a lot of things, but bringing Ayman Hussein back into the team is one of my biggest peeves with Katanich. Is that how did you manage to, like, we'll come to Katanich. We'll come to Katanich because I'm not done with Katanich, and I've got so much to vent and complain about. But anyway, listen. We mentioned tactical naivety from Petrovic. How can you go into a tournament like this without clear-cut penalty takers? How do you not know who's going to take the penalties? Every team has a list of priorities in terms of who's taking set pieces of penalties. For example, if it's a penalty, I want Ayman to take it. If Ayman's not on the pitch, I want Amjad to take it, or Yasser Qasim, whatever. You have this written down. Everyone knows their role. And it shows you the naivety of Petrovic to not have done this. But yeah, again, somehow it finishes 1-1. We go into the Bahrain game, 0-0. What did you think before I start complaining? What did you think?
I mean, probably some similar feelings as you. It's just these kinds of games where it's like you see the national team, and it's just like, you know, and it's the case over and over and over. It's just depressing because you keep saying the same thing over, the same, you know, the same play from the national team, from the players, the same style, the same everything, and it's ineffective and just completely useless.
It's a while back, but I'm trying to remember some of the chances, and nothing stands out. Do you remember any chances?
No, and you know, we don't create chances. That's the thing. So if Bashar Rassan doesn't like create something from nothing, or Mohamed Qasim doesn't, you know, hit the post from, you know, a million yards away, you know, we're not going to create anything. So, you know,
that's yet another draw against Bahrain. That was the game that we should have won. That's the game where we should have actually taken 3 points and put us in a position to go through to the next round. But a draw against Bahrain, you can't beat Oman, you can't beat Bahrain. Who can you beat? Who can you beat? I don't understand. What are these guys playing at?
I mean, he's barely even competitive with these teams. It's not even just beating them. It's just be competitive. And that's a tough ask.
I mean, I wouldn't say they're not competitive. You're drawing, you're not losing. So you are competitive. But you want to be winning these
drawing
games.
Drawing with a 97-minute penalty against Oman.
Okay, all right. But Aqal, we had 1 or 2 chances against Oman. All right. And Oman, I know, not a bad team. They're not a bad team. But, bro, you're trying to qualify for the World Cup. Yunus Mahmoud, kul aqla, he comes out and says on national TV or international TV on Qatar's, I think it was El Kas or whatever, comes out and says, yeah, we're going to win the Arab Cup. What world do you live in, bro? What world do you live in where you look at this team, you look at these players and look at these managers and the infrastructure and you think, yeah, we've got a team here that's going to compete. Beat these teams first. Beat one team. 10 games I've seen right now without Iraq winning a single match. What tournament are we winning? What World Cup are we qualifying to? It's I think a lot of people in Iraqi football really live in this fairy tale land. But anyway, we'll come back and do an overview. Iraq, Qatar. What did you think? I just recorded about an hour ago a podcast with a few of the guys. If you could find the link to this on my channel. A guy called Maher, a guy called Maron, and a guy called Basil. Shout out to these guys. I've been recording podcasts, looking at the Arab Cup, and I discussed a lot of these issues there for the Iraq national team. So check it out there. I don't want to sit and repeat myself, but yeah, Hassan, what did you think of the performance?
Yeah, I mean, these are the kind of games that I am most you know, I feel more uneasy facing these kinds of teams like Qatar because it's a well-drilled side that's organized. Yeah. So you know when they
has good quality.
Exactly. So when that comes against, you know, the incohesive mess that we're fielding every game, you know, they're going to find holes and they're going to punish us.
Yeah.
And we held on for most of the game, but then after a certain point in the second half, like the first goal went in, and then that was done. And I think it's not just as you said earlier, it's like clockwork. Like in the second half, everything's done.
Yeah.
And it's both on terms of like the tactical preparation of the coach and the ability to make changes throughout the game and realize how the game is going, and then how to change that. And then as well, the fact that our players have zero physical ability to keep up the same pace. Qatar, their players are like, they're playing at a good level. Like they're playing, in so many different competitions. They're playing in, they played in Copa America, Gold Cup. They're playing in Euro qualifiers in their own little group. So they're used to a much higher pace of play than even the Asian level. So when you come up against these guys who are playing in the Iraqi league, which, as far as I see it, it's like a glorified recreational league, which has like zero professionalism at all. And so they come up against these actual professional players, they're going to fall apart. They're not going to keep up. Maybe for the first half, a little bit.
Yeah. So I was going to say, some of the guys in the podcast, the Arab Cup one, were grilling me for saying on Twitter that we had a very good first half, and I stand by this. First half, we looked good. We looked good. Part of it is that Qatar are already through, and they weren't really playing for anything. And number two, they were playing a weakened squad. But Iraq for the first half, bro, they looked good. We created some actual chances. Yasser Qasim hit the woodwork. And another day, one of those shots goes in, we're leading at half time. But again, it comes to second half, bro, the players are finished. They're unable to walk. Some of the mistakes we were making in the second half were ludicrous. If you look at those 3 goals, again, unforgivable. And all of it was down to just pure fatigue. Some of the names being mentioned as the scapegoats as well were ludicrous. Bashar Hassan was being blamed. Rabin Sulaqa is being blamed. Yasser Qasim was being blamed. Wallah, I don't know what people watch when it comes to Iraqi football. I don't know how fans sit and like with a straight face make these comments. Ya akhi, the last month and a half, I've been hearing non-stop how Muhammad Qasim is the next like Messi. This guy gets the ball and just shoots it from anywhere. He loses the ball under no pressure, just shooting from ludicrous positions. Doesn't create anything, doesn't score. What does he bring to the team? How are you blaming Yasser Qasim? How are you blaming Bashar? Bashar, he lost some chances. Bro, Bashar at least gets in a position to get a shot on goal. Who's getting into these positions that Bashar is getting into? Because it's not Muhammad Qasim, I'll tell you that much. And it certainly isn't Ayman Hussein. I don't know how, wallah, I don't know how fans can sit and make these statements, because it's insane. It's insane. And you know what? It's come to the point, alhamdulillah, our Instagram's growing substantially nowadays. But I've got a nickname on there. They call me Bashar's cousin because of how much I defend him. And I laugh at it because it's funny, because I do defend him a lot, but he's the only creative outlet we have. If Bashar Hassan doesn't create anything in a match, nothing's going to happen. Nothing. Either he creates the chance himself or he's at the end of the chance that happens. He's always involved. If Bashar is not playing, bro, nothing's happening in that game. Nothing.
Yeah, his only problem is that he hasn't scored a goal directly himself. I think if he scores, everything kind of changes for him. But like, he's doing everything else right. That's what you're saying, is like he'll pick up the ball from the halfway line, and then now he has to move it all the way up. I understand when if the last touch, like, it doesn't work out, it's not going to come across every single time. Like, even Messi isn't going to score every single chance that he creates from the middle of the field. Ronaldo's not going to score every single chance, but he's creating everything. So,
this is
take
the
him
thing,
out.
man.
You don't have anyone else. So
yeah, this is the thing. Yasser Qasim's another one who I saw his name being touted by absolute clowns who don't understand football. Yasser Qasim, he's one of those players where you don't really appreciate how good he is until he's not in the team. And how good he was especially evident against Bahrain, where we just had no control in midfield. No one to set the tempo, nobody to actually dictate the game, nobody to bring other players in. And first half against Qatar, he looked good. First half against Oman, he looked good. Of course he's going to get tired. And let's be honest, this guy is playing in the Iraqi league and he's not played properly in a while. He needs time for his fitness to improve. But this is on the manager, you know. The manager should make changes. Manager should bring him off when he sees Yasser Qasim getting tired. And it's also on the fitness team that aren't doing a particular good job. And I really insist you guys go and check out my interview with Gonzalo Rodriguez, because you'll learn so much about what Iraqi football should be doing compared to what is actually happening in terms of the physical conditioning of some of our players. But it's, again, ludicrous what's happening. What did you make of some of the interviews that happened after the Bahrain game and the Qatar game? I don't know if you saw any of these. You had, for example, against Bahrain after the game, Amjad Atwan coming in and saying, "Oh, we did everything we could, but Allah doesn't want us to win. Essentially, he's not giving us the opportunity to win." Then you had after the Bahrain game, Ayman Hussein saying, "Oh yeah, we're just not lucky. We're doing everything right. We're just not lucky." Bashar coming out and saying, "Yeah, this is all the fault of the Iraqi league. Our fitness is lacking because of the Iraqi league, and the players just can't play at intensity for a long period of time." What did you make of these statements?
I mean, I don't necessarily fault, like, someone like, Amjad Atwan. He's backing his own team. So like what he says to the media, and, it's one thing. But if he's like, if himself, this is exactly what he believes, is that, we are doing everything correctly. And we just, like, on one hand, yes, like, because if the ball goes in instead of hitting the post, like, how many times do we hit the post in these games? Goes in, maybe the game changes, but, we don't know about that. Overall, our problem isn't luck. Our problem is so much deeper than that. So, it's Bashar Hassan, he's on the right track. It's like, it is the Iraqi league that is the issue. This national team that we have in this Arab Cup is almost entirely, other than Rebin, Bashar, France, and I don't know who else. Is there anyone else outside? Ayman Hussein. Other than those, they're all Iraqi league players. Atwan, where does he play? I don't remember. I think it was Qatari league. Yes, Qatari league. Yeah, he recently transferred last summer, I think. Yeah. So it's a primarily Iraqi league team, and so it has the strengths and the weaknesses of Iraqi league team. Strengths, like, there aren't really actually, but has all the weaknesses of a national of a Iraqi league team. So, the fitness isn't there. The talent, like, we can keep up in the first half, so we can see that, like, the players generally do measure up against this level of opposition, talent-wise, just on that level. But fitness-wise, in terms of tactics-wise, in terms of everything else, they don't measure up at all. Yeah. And so, and then it's another thing. It's like, okay, you want to point fingers, like, at Yasser Qasim, at Rebin, at anybody else, like. Or when they say, like, we put in France and he didn't do anything, so what's the point? It's like, this isn't like, a game of FIFA Ultimate Team. You don't just put a player into the team and now everything's better. Yeah. You have to make a big change in the team and then give it time and then let the player feel comfortable in the spot. And then once there's some cohesion, once there's some chemistry in the team, then he'll perform at his best. But like they say, like, it's something that happens to every player who's coming in from, like, every non-Iraqi league player who's coming out of the local players. Everyone else, they have this standard where it's like, if he didn't change something immediately, then he's useless. Let's move on to the next guy, or we'll bring it back another Iraqi league player. That's like what happened to Osama Rashid. He played like 15 minutes, done for the rest of his international career. Like, it's no way to operate a national team or any kind of team of any kind, whether it's sports or otherwise. I mean, it just, the kinds of things that these fans and these it's not the fans that I judge so much because they don't have any power, but it's like the media and that seems to favor their friends in the national team against others.
Yeah.
And so it just kills me when it's always the same thing and it's it doesn't change.
Yeah. Going back to the interview things, you talk about, you understand that Amjad Atwan would do this, he's the captain, etc. I find it horrible. I find it so disrespectful to the fans that these guys can come out and say such nonsense and take the piss out of the fans and just disrespect the fans that sit and pay money to go watch these games and sit and watch every match and take time out of their day to sit and support this team. And then at the end of it, you tell them, oh, we haven't won in 10 games and it's because of luck. Yani, what are we donkeys? We don't understand football. We haven't got eyes. We haven't got brains. How can you sit and disrespect the fans like that? I'll respect Bashar a lot, not just because he's my cousin apparently, but because he came and actually identified a problem in the team, in the setup. And if you don't identify a problem, how are you supposed to fix it? How are you supposed to fix a problem when you're telling me that problem doesn't exist? Amjad Atwan is telling you there's no problem with the national team. There's nothing to be fixed. There's no solution because there's no problem. When there very clearly is a problem. And we need to come up with a solution. So don't come in front of the TV and say, oh, wallah, the reason we're losing is because Allah doesn't want us to win. Get the fuck out of it. I mean, it's the first time I think I've ever sworn on this podcast, but have some respect, man. Have some respect. The fans deserve better than this. It's so unforgivable that Amjad Atwan and Ayman Hussein and these individuals, I'm trying to limit what I say here, they will come out and just discredit the fans and just, it's unbelievable, man. I can't believe it. It's genuinely shocking. Shocking. But anyway, Hassan, today the rumors, very strong rumors, Iraq Football Podcast, that's us, Iraqi Pro Players, also a reliable source of information. They've come out and said Rahim Hamid is no more. His position in the Iraq national team and his tenure is finished. Looks like Miroslav Sokop is coming in, the Iraqi Olympics under 23 manager. I've seen a little bit of him. I know a little bit about him. I was at the camp in the UAE when they were here, where I met a lot of the players and I was chilling with them. I was managed, fortunately, to get VIP access to the game. And I was literally sat on the bench with the players, which was pretty cool. But he struck me as somebody that maybe not the best tactically, but somebody who can win the players on side. And I think this is something that might actually be useful for the national team, given how nobody really liked Advocate, nobody really liked Petrovic, and I'll tell you what, they hated Katanic. So it might be a good appointment, but there's also rumors that a lot of these guys are getting dropped, including Bashar, including Ali Youssef and a few other names. And the new team that will happen will be basically all expats with Olympic team players and a few other individuals being brought in from the Iraqi League, including a name we've not heard in a long, long time, Saad Abdul Amir. So what do you think? Good news, bad news?
Mostly good news. Rahim Hamid coming out. If he's out, I really, really hope it's the same outcome as when Basel Korkis went out, which is like as soon as he's out, now we have expats in the team actually, not just 2 or 3
the
or
name
1
counted
or not.
is Razak Farhan, the former Iraq striker who played alongside Yunus Mahmoud. He's slightly older.
Yeah, we need something fresh in the team. That's the main idea. And it's not just someone fresh, just anybody. We need somebody who actually understands things. So Rahim Hamid going out, that's always positive. Like, this guy has been in this team, for how many years, and it's been like, and there are certain, like, we just said, we talked about that earlier. So we don't need to go over it all over again, but we need him out, in my opinion. Petrovic definitely out. He hasn't proved like, you know, that he's adequate for this kind of job. And so Sokop, I like what he did with the U23 team. I think that was quite positive. Yeah, I agree that, like, I'm not sure about his tactics, but, you know, I think so much more than just the tactics, we need a good environment in the national team. If you're saying that, you know, since Katanic, the players, like, you know, so that's been 4 years almost that we've had a national team that the players don't like.
I want to mention
Petrovic or Advocat or, you know, Katanic.
Yeah, so if you go back to the Justin Murham interview we did recently, and you listen to some of the things Justin said about the vibes in the camp and how the players coming to the camp should be there excited and looking to have fun and should be excited to be in the camp. Whereas I'm being told that some players, when they're going there, they just can't wait to leave because it's just so cynical and depressing. But I think it's insane that nobody's really talking about how Katanic is the cause of all the problems that we are experiencing right now. People talking about this so-called record of all these unbeaten games. Let's be honest, who did we play during those games? We got luck against Iran, luck against Qatar. We nearly lost both of those games. The rest just playing absolute riffraff teams. Like Uzbekistan and all these jokers that, no disrespect to them, but these are not teams that you should be happy that you've beaten. Barely beating the likes of Cambodia, Nepal, and Hong Kong, etc. Biggest issue right now for Iraqi football is under Katanic, we gave him free rein to keep the same 15 or so clowns in the national team without changing anyone. He brought in some new faces here and there. None of them got a chance to actually play any football. No expats were brought in towards the end of his time as the Iraqi manager. And what happened as a result of this is that you were relying on a small nucleus of players, all of whom were terrible, likes of Oman and others whose names I don't want to mention. And we know that age fraud is prevalent in Iraqi football. Now, those guys, since 2019, I mean, they're 2-3 years older now, and they're expired. They're finished as footballers. Ali Adnan, as a footballer, I hate to say it, in the top leagues, he's finished. Humam is finished. Ali Faiz, Durgham, these guys are finished as footballers. And this guy was relying on only them. So you come to a stage now where these guys no longer able to cut the mustard at this level. Where do you turn from there? You have to now make huge changes. When any other team that actually functions properly, with an FA that functions properly, these changes should have been gradual, should have been planned out, and you make these changes slowly. You gradually phase out Durgham, you gradually phase out Ali Adnan and these guys. Not overnight, you have to make 15 changes to a squad. Of course, you're going to have a squad that's completely in disarray as we have now. Of course, you're going to have players that are struggling to understand the philosophy of a manager. Of course, you're not going to win any games for 10 games because you've had to make all these necessary but huge changes because the previous moron that was manager didn't make any changes. So you're having to do 3 years worth of work in the 6 months that Advocate was here. Now, Advocate wasn't perfect. No, I'm not saying that. But the fact that fans can sit here and tell me how great Katanic is an absolute joke. An absolute joke. Wallahi al-azim. And it makes you wonder what world some of these fans live in and how little they understand football. But I don't want to sit here because I'm not going to sit and pretend that I'm this oracle of football when I understand the game entirely, when I'm just a fan at the end of the day. But these things are obvious. These things are obvious. Anyone who understands the basics of the game will tell you that our problem started with Katanic. They started not with the Advocate, when we were getting outplayed on the pitch by the likes of Nepal. All right. Yeah, we won the game 6-2, but go look at the goals that we conceded. Go look at the chances we actually created that came from Iraqi good play and not comical defending on behalf of Nepal. Go back and look at the way we played every game with 5 at the back and barely created any chances. We talk about like the Arab Cup. Some of the good things have been that actually we've developed a new player in Manaf Yunus who looks a good centre back, and now we're playing. I mean, we conceded what? Forget the last game, because that happened in the span of 10 minutes where the players were dead. We only conceded 1 against Oman, and that was a penalty. Conceded none against Bahrain. In the first half, we actually battered Qatar. I think the fact that we now have a defensive pair where we can play 2 at the back and 4 across the back line and still look fairly comfortable defensively, that's definitely a positive. Hassan at left back, he looked good. I mean, it goes back to what I've been saying for a long time, a long time. Are you telling me that in all of Iraq, we can't find one adequate left back to replace Ali Adnan, or at least be competitive and have him on the bench? Nonsense. And this goes back to Katanich. This goes back to Katanich. Same players, every single squad, always starting. Ali Adnan without a club for a year and a bit, still starting. Ali Adnan overweight, still starting. Durgham Ismail, who's not had a good game in about 4 seasons, still featuring. How can people come in town and say, oh, I wish it went back to Katanich, or we should have never got rid of him? Mate, get out of here. Wallah al-Azim, get out of it. You don't know football. You don't know what you're talking about. Go watch another sport. Go watch cricket. Because football's not for you. That's really your assessment of the situation. But yeah, it comes back to bigger problems. It comes back to lack of planning. And the next manager, if it does stay as of Petrovic, that's a joke. Because again, it goes back to this lack of planning, lack of forward thinking. I was excited for Advocate, but even then, I knew at his age it's going to be a stopgap manager. Now we can't make that mistake again. It needs to be somebody that comes in. Look, we're not qualifying for Qatar 2022. That's fine. I've accepted that. Bring in someone young. Bring in someone with some new ideas. Bring in someone that can build a team for the next 10 years. Build someone that can build a team the next 5 years, 2 years. Just have some longevity in terms of our planning. Bring someone in that can use the next few games to weed out the problems, fix them, so we can be ready to actually challenge for the Asian Cup in 2023 in China. Because at this rate, I genuinely can't see us going through the group stages. I can't. Don't give me Petrovic. Bring in someone that can actually be there and develop Iraqi players and Iraqi football. The name that, for me, Sokop, maybe, but I'd really like to see Amin Philip come in, because I think he bridges that gap between expats and local players. He understands the problems there, but he also understands a little bit about the English game, a little bit about European style, and he has that kind of mentality and thaqafa, we could say. So I'd like to see him there. I'd like to see, not just because he's my mate, I'd like to see Rabin Sulaqa. He should have been the captain. No disrespect to Amjad Atwan. I understand why he was made captain, the most capped player, and he's somebody that works hard and trains well. But you need somebody like Rabin Sulaqa to come in and bridge the gap again between the expats and the Iraqi players. He speaks Arabic fairly well. I was surprised when I was actually, I've got to word this carefully. When I spoke to him recently, and no comment on where I spoke to him, but when I spoke to him recently, I was shocked at his level of Arabic. He lived in Qatar for a while anyway, so he's developed some Arabic, and being with the national team, he speaks Arabic well. Speaks English very, very well. Speaks Swedish very, very well. Even speaks Thai if that comes in handy at any point. So yeah, make him captain, man. Let him be the bridge between the Iraqi players and the Swedish players and the English players. Why not? Why not? Why? Anyway, Hassan, I'm done with the Arab Cup, man. I just want to look forward to the Iraq-Iran game. I'm genuinely sick and tired of complaining. What's your final
You
message, bro?
looking forward to that game?
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. And mate, the amount of abuse I'm still getting from Iran fans is ridiculous. To any Irani fans watching, guys, why do I live in your heads rent-free? Genuinely, I've never said anything bad about Iran. Every assessment I've had when I'm on Goal Bizan speaking about Iran, wallahi, actually so complimentary. It's unbelievable, bro. They sit and they jump on my live feeds and they sit commenting on my pictures. But I'm not complaining. Thank you, because I get interactions because of you guys. But it's unhealthy to sit and be this obsessed with Iraqi football. You have a very good national team. You guys are going to qualify to the World Cup. Go support your players. You don't have to be obsessed with me. You don't have to be obsessed with
We're so insignificant. We're so insignificant that we're all they can think about.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's such a small man syndrome mentality to have this kind of unhealthy relationship with another national team. Like, for me, we are the smaller club or country or team. I don't even think about Iran. You think I sit there looking at Iran results? No, not at all. My only interaction with Iran football comes with Goal Bizan, who I really like. Shout out to the boys that run that page, especially Arya. But man, that's as far as my interaction with the Iranian football goes. These guys, they sit and watch Iraqi football and monitor it more than I do. Guys, find new hobbies. Wallah, go pick up a football and play. Go play some Warzone or something, because this is not good for you. This is not good for you. Anyway, listen, enough about them, guys. Hassan, final messages before we leave.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot to look forward to kind of in the short-term period, like to see, what's going to happen. If you're saying that, Rahim Hamid is out, we have
I'm not saying that. That's what the reports are saying.
Well, we're waiting to see if that's true. We're waiting to see who's going to be the new coach. All of these little things that hopefully will fall in the right place. Once the dust settles after this competition, and also we have we're looking forward to see how things go with the rest of our players in Europe with their own clubs. Hopefully, Amir can do it with his club and all that. All the other little things, everything else, we're going to hold off on the Iran-Iraq game. Let's put that aside, put everything else aside, and hope for the best which is all we can do really at the end of the day.
Okay, well, Hassan, if we want to contact you on social media, where do we find you?
Yeah, always Twitter, Hassan O_1193.
Well, guys, if you want to contact me, you can find me on all social media, Twitter, Instagram, and that's pretty much it, and YouTube and Facebook at Iraq Football Pod. Get in contact. We want to hear from you. We want to see from you guys what are your thoughts. Support the page. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We need your backing, because only with your help can we actually have a big impact on Iraqi football. That's all from me. Hopefully things take a turn for the better. I hope to one day come on this podcast and actually have something positive to talk about. So maybe soon, guys, maybe soon. But until then, yalla ya Iraq.